Welcome to another edition of Off Grid with Horses. I'm Russell.
And I'm Alex. Russell and I are going to share true life adventures of our lives with horses on our Colorado mountain ranch.
We live way off grid at 9,300 feet above sea level, high in the Colorado Rockies.
Where the air is thin.
But the breathing is easy.
And life is hard.
But the living is good. Hello, it's a great morning here at Off Grid with Horses. Alex has already been out and about. It's a little cool, rainy. We've had a lot of rain the past few days, and it's cloudy, but that doesn't slow us down. How are you doing today, Alex?
I'm doing good, Russell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's late August when we're recording this, and for those of you who are in warmer climates, which is just about anywhere except here. It's probably end of summer and you are enjoying the last few weeks of warm weather, going swimming, doing stuff like that. However, here it is the beginning of fall. Evenings are in the low 40s. We have some nights now that are dipping into the 30s. Leaves are starting to change, so it is definitely fall. Hummingbirds are eating lots and lots of food, getting ready for their travels back to wherever they go in the wintertime. And we have a woodpecker that has an identity crisis. And the woodpecker thinks he's a hummingbird and keeps eating from the hummingbird feeders. And this morning, and I kid you not, this morning we ran out of hummingbird food. And the woodpecker came to our front door and was pounding on the front door, waiting for more food. That's the kind of the nature of our critters up here. Hummingbirds with attitudes, rabbits with attitudes, squirrels that think they're birds, all kinds of stuff going on. So we're starting to prepare for winter, but first, let's talk about horses. We still have a few ponies to talk about.
We do. And let me start by talking about Marty a little bit, because Marty, a.k.a. Martin Short, is another equine that I've had with me for quite a while. I think I've had him over a decade now. I'm just not really sure how long, maybe 15 years, maybe a little longer. Anyway, he is wonderful. He's a pony. We don't really know what kind of pony. When I got him, I asked the vet, so what kind of pony is he? And she looked at me and made this face and said, Alex, he's a pony. Just accept it. I'm like, okay. Because, of course, there are all kinds of ponies. There's Shetland ponies, and there's Welsh ponies, and there's Hackney ponies, and there's all kinds of little things. He looks probably closer to a Shetland than anything else. He's actually a Palomino, but he'd be what, when I was growing up, we called a chocolate Palomino. So he has a flaxen, and that means blonde, mane and tail, and grayish body that when the sun bleaches him out, he turns yellow. He is also actually a paint. He's got stockings, which is a marking on a horse's leg that go above the knee or the hock joints. And he also has a good size spot on his belly and no other markings except for what we call a big bald face. So that means that his blaze, which is a wide stripe that goes from his forehead all the way down to his nose, and he has an extra wide stripe that goes over and encompasses his eye. And when you have pink skin that goes over an eye, when it's a facial marking, and commonly when horses have the proper genetics, which normally comes from paints most commonly, then you have what is called a bald face. So he has a bald face and beautiful blue eyes. And he's, if you remember from before, we have a measurement that we measure horses by, which is called hands. And each hand is 4 inches, and he's about 10.2 or maybe 10.3 hands. And so that's Marty. He's a wonderful little fellow. Kids can ride him. He drives a cart. He'll chase the cows when made to, really. And he's just a lovely little doll. He's one of the creatures that we do a lot of our therapies with people with, because he's small along with his little friends. And so it makes him less intimidating, and we can use certain techniques that can help folks with smaller, less intimidating animals Ponies particularly, and then it makes an easy transition for them to be able to take their experiences home and work with them with their pets, normally dogs, when they're outside of normal therapeutic hours and might need assistance for themselves.
And Marty likes to travel, and he's had some interesting times in motels, hasn't he?
I don't know about some, but one for sure. We took him somewhere, I'm not going to mention where, and somebody was like, wow, it's a little horse. That's so cute. I'm like, oh yeah, watch this. And so we took him into the hotel room and walked around, and he didn't make any messes and he didn't tear anything up. But the person thought it was just an absolute kick. And Marty is very friendly and easygoing, and he's been inside lots of different buildings. I think that might be the only actual hotel.
Okay. And talk about Oberon.
Oh, Oberon. Well, Oberon and Jacob kind of
go together.
They do, absolutely. They are a driving team that we took over ownership of from a feller who had gotten them for the idea of helping people, particularly children, to come to love horses. And again, smaller ones are easier to get over certain fears with, and a great introduction for individuals to the equine world. And so Jacob and Oberon came from a feller who ended up with terminal leukemia, and his son was able to place all the other horses, and we knew the son personally. And so we took the ponies because all the other ones had been placed, and we just wanted to make sure that we found them a soft landing, which has so far ended up being here with our 501c3 10th Mountain Equine. And they are available for adoption. They are a beautiful, tiny little driving team. They're a little bit smaller than Marty, so probably about 10 and 10.1 hands respectively. And so they're small, but not miniature horses. And they are lovely little beings who pull a little covered wagon and have their little harnesses and all of their equipment. And since they've been here, have become far more friendly. And now they will come for kisses when you call them.
And they'll also, they run together, sometimes they will run side by side, just shoulder to shoulder. And they will run as though they are a driving team. They'll be parallel. When one turns, the other one will turn, and they just both turn together. It is so adorable and cute when they do that.
It is.
So we're preparing for winter here. So, Alex, tell us what's going on here.
Well, weather-wise, what we're doing is we've got the temperatures coming down. Russell had mentioned already that we've already started to see temperatures in the 30s.
Yeah, it's in the 30s, and the leaves are changing, and it won't be long. I would think 3 weeks, snow will be absolutely fair game. Within 4 weeks, snow will become the norm, and we really won't see much rain until April, maybe May, June.
Oh, I'm going to think that it's not going to be quite that much this year. The most recent winter that we had was a very mild winter. We're feeling really fortunate about that. And I'm kind of hoping that this next winter is going to be similar. I would go for this particular kind of gentle trend of change. It's not necessarily a warming trend, but we are starting to get a little bit more spread out weather throughout the year. So what that means is that rather than having feet and feet of snow, we just get feet of snow during the winter time. And then we had rain all through the summer this year. We've been very fortunate. Colorado's having a horrible, horrible wildfire year. And we've had rain regularly. Not enough to disturb us too terribly much, but enough to keep the land and the plants in a condition where they're far less fire hazardous.
Yes, we've been fortunate where we're at. We haven't had forest fires. Colorado in general has had a pretty rough year, I think, for forest fires, especially on the western slope. But here it's not been too bad. As Alex said, we've had quite a bit of rain, which if it continues, that would turn into quite a bit of snow. About 4 years ago, on October 15th, it was 15 degrees below zero here. So hopefully we won't have anything like that. That's kind of an anomaly, but hopefully it'll be a lot warmer than that. So we're preparing for that, though. Just like a squirrel, we prepare for the winter. since snow is really possible. And we started staining the house. Well, we actually finished now staining the house so that it's prepared for winter and prepared for bad weather. And we've had a few guests. Why don't you talk about some of the guests we've had, Alex?
We've actually had quite a few guests this month. I was just telling someone earlier today that we have had, for how many things we've had canceled, because we've had, with my particular schedule, not even including Russell's, we've had 5 things canceled this month, and we have still been utterly inundated. And so some of the things that did not cancel included my old and dear friend Bob coming out from St. Louis, Missouri, and bringing his nephew, Luke, out to come and help us with staining the house. Now, I know nothing about this kind of stuff. I'd probably live in an old dilapidated barn with cracks coming through the walls if it weren't for Russell. So, Russell, why don't you tell us a little bit about what they did and what they did actually means?
Well, they stained it, which really is just a weatherproofing. I wasn't as concerned with the appearance, although I know that's important, but I was less concerned with the appearance than I was the weather protection for the wood. We live in a log home, so it's truly log. It's not just log siding, but it's truly log home. And so we have to stain it every 3 to 5 years. And when we stain it, it's just protecting the wood from the UV, from the light, as well as the weather and the snow and the wind and everything else. We also did some work on our deck. We had planned of replacing, a couple of posts. We thought that was what we needed to do to strengthen it up. And it ended up, we replaced most of the stairs and all the rails. And so that turned out to be a huge job. If you ever worked on a house, this house isn't terribly old, but it's about, now it's 10, 12 years old. So some things are starting to wear. And as we started to get into the railings, we found more and more rot and more and more problems and ended up replacing quite a bit. Turned out to be a pretty big job after all. But we were very grateful for the help. Luke and Bob were fantastic. Luke's more of a carpenter. I'm not really much of a carpenter. Bob has been in construction his whole life. So we were very grateful for the help. And they got it all done. And now they're back in warm St. Louis. Also, the pump has been acting up again. As I've mentioned before, it's broken down over and over and over and over and over again. I did some work on it a couple days ago, and hopefully I found the problem, and we'll see. But it just keeps breaking down. In the wintertime, getting to that pump, accessing it is a little difficult. It's in a little house, but unfortunately, the way that the little house is made, water drips off the roof right in front of the front door, which wouldn't normally be a problem, not a problem in the summer. But in the winter, that water dripping off forms ice, and then that ice forms a big block. And you can't open the door without taking a pick and breaking up the ice. So hopefully it's fixed and it'll last for a while, but we'll see.
And likely, just like all ranches, we have not only a pump that is being finicky, we also have a tractor and a mower, which sometimes acts as a tractor, and a Jeep that we just got running again, which is also acting up.
Yeah, this hasn't been the best year for mechanical things. As Alex says, it's a big garden tractor that we use extensively. Well, we used extensively. It blew up, smoke all over, not a pretty sight. And so that's dead. So then we transferred over to using the tractor, which is much larger. And now that's having problems. We broke a hydraulic line and we're having trouble getting the fittings to fit the line. It's an older tractor and kind of an off-brand, and so we're having trouble getting that. So we're trying to get that going. We also have what I think is really cool, a 1955 Willys Jeep. It is a CJ5. I believe it is the 84th Jeep off the line, off the CJ5 off the line. So it's pretty special, but it's 70 years old. And so we've had some issues with that. We've replaced the brakes on it and rebuilt the back end on it, and we're just having some issues. We're trying to find a little ATV or something like that, but they are really expensive. A used one can be like $15,000. A new one can be like $30,000. So we're having some trouble finding one. So we're just kind of limping along, trying to keep everything going. And hopefully we'll get through the winter without any major issues. What else are we doing, Alex?
Well, it's time for cleanup. It's always time for cleanup at a ranch because stuff happens just all the time. So what that means is, in addition to having stained the house and fixed the railings on the deck, we are also cleaning out from underneath the stairs and cleaning out from underneath the porch and cleaning things up so that we can get stuff to places where we can get to it and find it all in the snow.
Yeah, if you have something that you need, it could just be a shovel, and you leave it on the ground and then it snows a foot, you can't find the shovel. So we are trying to get everything in its place, trying to pick up everything so that when it does snow, we'll be able to find stuff. It'll be sticking up out of the snow. At least that's the plan. Now, we've done some work. Let's talk about some fun stuff. We've done some work also with Bear and Shaman.
We sure have. Golly, we've been doing lots of things. So I'm actually going to share this. The other day I was in the tack room and I looked out the window and I saw a bunny rabbit. And it was a cute bunny. It wasn't the teeny little bunny that we see all the time. It might have been the earlier in the year teenier little bunny, but it isn't teeny anymore. Anyway, he is a lovely little bunny rabbit, or she, and I started thinking about bunny rabbits. And so I started wondering, just because your mind tends to wander, I started wondering, how smart are bunny rabbits? Specifically, how smart are bunny rabbits compared to, say, chickens? Anyway, I looked this up and I now know more about bunny rabbits than I did. And one of the things that I found was that bunny rabbits are surprisingly smart and intelligent. And if they don't have enough stimulation, they will start to exhibit destructive behavior. And so I'm going to bring this back to our bear, our wonderful, big, giant, enormous, attitude-filled mule. And I'm going to mention that Shaman and Bear are now living together. They've been living together for like a month and a half, something like that. And Bear had a lot of destructive behavior, all kinds. They presented themselves in psych regards and in actual physical. Well, he dug a hole and like a lot, like 3 feet deep. And he was really kind of leveling out his shelter, but it was kind of disturbing for him to be digging all the time. Anyway, now that Shaman and Bear live together, they have a nice relationship. It does involve biting and kicking and running and squealing, but they enjoy it. And the destructive behaviors that Bear had been displaying have diminished greatly. His whole personality has changed. And it's not like he was all alone. He was the middle of all the other horses that we have. But there seems to be something really different about getting to be able to touch and kick and bite and have to run to get away. And so now he and Shaman are both substantially more stimulated than they were before.
And Bear, as Alex said, he dug a hole. And they do that with their front hoofs, and they just keep digging. And we would fill it up, and he would dig it out, and he can dig it faster than we can fill it. And his shelter is on a bit of a slope. And what he actually did, I don't know if he was planning this, but the way it worked out, he kind of made a garden-level basement for himself. He dug this hole so that the bottom of his shelter is now level. It's not on a slope. And the hole goes from one end of the shelter to the other. It fills the whole thing. And then it just drops down to where when he gets out of the shelter, it's an easy slope. So he's actually made a nice improvement for his shelter, something that we wouldn't have done. I kind of like a little bit of a slope so that it drains, but we haven't had any problems with the rain. It hasn't been filling with water. So really, Bear has been doing his own little home improvements, getting ready for winter. And what kind of training have we been doing with those two?
Well, we've been doing quite a bit. Shaman gets to get taken out and run around in the round pen. Sometimes we get a saddle on him, and sometimes we ride him. And that's pretty much mostly his training. He's learning more about fly spray, and he's learning a little bit more about manners, proper manners around humans particularly. And then we've got Bear, and he is learning how to lead, and we're learning more about him all the time. Like, for instance, this morning, I was playing with Bear, and I wanted to put some fly spray on him. And so what I is normally we'll halter him because he runs away from fly spray. Lots of horses do. It goes squish, squish, and it tickles their skin. And so it's just not their favorite thing. And much of the time they don't correlate the fact that fly spray actually keeps the flies that they don't like off of them. So anyway, that all said, I just grabbed a rope and I put it around Bear's neck because we've been finding that there's something that happens when we turn his neck, when we make his neck bend. There's a change in the way that he behaves in relation to what we ask of him if he might not be interested in what we ask of him. And so what I did is I put the rope right behind his neck. I didn't tie it or anything just because I just wanted to pull on it. And I was able to keep him turning towards me the whole time I was fly spraying him. And normally what he does is he puts his shoulder into you and then he just pushes and squishes you against a fence or pushes you away and runs off. But this was really interesting. So we learn from them and are able to change our training in the same way that they're learning from us with the training that we're giving them. One of the other things that we've done is we've taken some electrical tape. And that's not like the electrical tape you use to like wrap up wires. Electrical tape in the horse world is about 1.5 to 2 inch wide strip of plastic, woven plastic that also has individual little small woven metal wires that stretch the entire length of the plastic without gap. And so what you do is you attach a fence charger to the wire or the tape, and then the whole tape becomes electrified. So we'd done a little bit of expansion with that electric tape around the end of Bear's pen. And we had taken Bear into that. I actually had him, this is a couple months ago or so, I actually had Russell stand by the gate and tick. I literally had him go tick, 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 because that's what sound the electricity makes when it comes through the fence. And I wanted Bear to think the fence was on even when it wasn't electrified. And so he did that and it worked. Then a few weeks later, I tried it with Bear and I didn't have Russell standing there ticking. I was by myself and Bear got belligerent. And he didn't hurt me or anything, but he ran around the little area that we had expanded with that fence on the other side of his gate. And he touched the tape a couple times. And I know he was checking to see if it was on. So I got him quickly back into the pen. Anyway, the other day, we brought the charger over and expanded the pen a little bit, which requires lots of taking out toxic weeds. But we did. And we just kind of, without any real intention, we just turned it on and then let Shaman and Bear out.
And they came out and they walked around. And the charger, of course, was doing its own ticking, so I didn't have to sit there and go tick, 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 tick. The charger did that itself. And they were great. They didn't touch the fence. They knew the fence was on. They ate the grass that was there and walked around and they played around a little bit. The other horses just went nuts. They didn't think that was appropriate at all to have Bear and Shaman outside of their fence. They didn't think that was right. And so they were whinnying and running around, and then that caused Shaman to whinny and run around a little bit. He almost ran right. He could just run right through the fence if he hit it. And he almost did that. And Alex and I yelled at him, says, stop, stop, stop. And he did. And he turned and he came back. And Shaman is a baby. He's only 4. And although he thinks he's the boss, at least from time to time with Bear, when things get a little scary, like when there's lightning, we had a bad lightning storm, he just runs up to Bear for security. And that's what he did when he was running around. He just didn't know really what was going on. And he was very cute. He ran over to Bear and stood by Bear, and Bear was fine with everything. And Shaman just stood there and snuggled him and made sure he was safe. And then after a few minutes, we brought him back into their regular paddock, and everything was fine. But seriously, during that lightning storm, we had some close hits with lightning, And Shaman was really cute again. He ran over to Bear. They went into the same shelter together, and he just kind of snuggled into Bear and just stayed there. And Bear just stood there and was the big brother and said everything, basically, I imagine anyway, he was saying everything's okay. And they stood there until the lightning stopped, and then they ran out, and then Shaman became his usual self and started acting like he was the boss again. So that's what we've been doing with Shaman and Bear. Shaman is learning to ride. We should be able to have him under saddle, maybe even off property in another month or so. But that's really what's going on. So now it is time for Adventures with Alex.
Yeehaw! And it definitely feels like I've needed a cheer for what I'm going to share this time. We had today I'm not going to talk about the horses here on the ranch, but I am going to talk about a horse right down the road from us. For some reason, and I've never quite figured out what it is, maybe it's the panic that sets in with the people in the mountains as soon as school starts up. Oh my gosh, it's going to be winter anytime. We have to get all the fun in that we possibly can. Anyway, so all sorts of stuff starts happening once summer is over out here in Colorado. It's always been perplexing to me. But at any rate, so right now, lots of people are looking to buy horses. So I have lots of people that are looking to buy horses, and I know some other people that are looking to sell horses. So it comes time for me to be able to kind of try to be putting people and horses together. And so I went down to meet this little feller that is, he belongs to the cousin of, the wife of, someone who works at the fire department who Russell used to work at the fire department with. And so this is how things happen way out here off grid. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and not like that doesn't apply everywhere in the world. But nonetheless, anyway, so they had this little feller named Chief, and they said he's a small horse, large pony, which is true. He's probably about 13 2 hands. And the little boy who has been riding him got a new horse that he's happy with. It's a bigger horse. It's doing what he would like for it to do. He's 9 and he's in the Gymkhana series. And so now it is time for this little feller Chief to find a new home. And Chief has some issues. He does need a rider who knows what they're doing. It seems like that. If he's asked to do stuff, he gets really excited about it. He's what some people would call a little old. He's 19 years old, and he's really lovely. I found a lot of horses. Nobody knows what kind of horse he is. The wife of the person that Russell knows, who's also a friend of mine, of course, said she thought maybe he was a Morgan, but nobody really has a clue. He's a handsome little feller, not terribly big, but I went to go down and go meet him and try him out, because that's what I do, is try out horses, because I kind of speak horse. And so whatever a horse really knows, I can generally get them to give up to me in a pretty short period of time. So I went out and we got him out of the field. He has an ailment that's similar to diabetes for humans. It's called Cushing's. And so he gets one little pill a day that takes care of his Cushing's, and it helps him to be able to process, digest foods and get nutrition more effectively than he would be able to otherwise. And so that said, he does also at least sometimes wear a grazing muzzle when he's turned out in the big pastures, so that he can't eat too much food and get too fat, because that'll be bad for just like people who have diabetes. You want to be careful of your diet and not eat tons and tons and tons of sugar. And eating fresh grass is the equivalent for a horse of eating tons and tons and tons of sugar. And so anyway, he's a real nice little fellow. I went out, we got him. I brushed him out and saddled him up, and he rides with a hackamore, which is a headstall or a bridle that goes on the horse that doesn't have a piece that goes in the horse's mouth. The particular one he has is a great one. I see lots and lots of people using it in the Gymkhanas, which is the Western game days that people go and compete at. And I took him out into this arena type area and saddled him up. And so we had a little walk around, and I saw how well he connected with me. And he did a wonderful job of connecting, and he followed me around like a puppy, and he even danced with me a little bit. And then I rode him, and I asked him to do many, many complicated things, and he was able to achieve all of them. He's a very, very good little boy, but the people that I was looking at him for both seem to be looking for something just a little bit different. And so now I'm trying to find another place for him. And so that's our current project. And so, if if you know anybody who wants a horse, or if you know anybody who wants to talk to us, or if you want to talk to us, if you want to suggest what we might be interested or what you might be interested in hearing from us on our podcast, you can go ahead and contact us. You can reach us. You can reach me at Alecz, and that's the unusual spelling of ALECZ at offgridwithhorses, no spaces, all lowercase.com. And you can reach Russell
at Russell, RUSSELL, at offgridwithhorses, again, no spaces.com. And if you just want to reach us generally, you can contact us at info@offgridwithhorses.com. We're also looking to find some help here at the ranch. So if you're interested or you know someone that may want to work at a ranch in exchange for lodging and in exchange for learning about horses and working with horses and being with horses, give us a call or contact us by email. All right, well, we're about out of time. And so give us a contact. Let us know if there's anything that you'd like to hear from us and anything you'd like to hear about us.
Have a great day.